बोलने वाला कंटेंट हमको लिखना होगा, तब जाके यहाँ पे समझ में आए। खैर कोई बात नहीं, हम जितना होगा देखेंगे। हेलो व्यूअर्स, welcome to the online session on quantitative technique for management. The overall subject is consist of 15 modules, and out of which today we are going to cover the first module, that is the introduction, or you can say quantitative techniques introduction or introductory. Hello viewers, welcome to the online session on quantitative technique for management. This subject is consist of 15 modules, out of which today we are going to cover the first module, that is the introduction part. Okay, and the first module is consist of, as far as content is concerned, it is consist of 8 topics. It starts with aim and objective, where we are going to know about the aim behind the learning of this subject and what are the supportive objectives that can help to understand the concept and the subject in a better way, why we must go through this subject. All these things we are going to cover in the first point. After that, introductory or introduction part is there, where we can understand the model and the importance of it. And after that, historical development is there, where we will know how the quantitative techniques are evolved and come into the picture. All these things we are going to cover in the historical development. Very quickly, then we will move to the about quantitative technique point, where we will cover a little bit, brief about the techniques and what exactly it is, where we can use it in real world, and what is the actual utilization of it. We will going to cover in the fourth point. Then in the fifth point, methodology section is there, where we will learn what are the steps which are involved in it, how sequentially the overall procedure or techniques, or you can say the methods, are implemented, what is the real logic behind it, that we are going to cover in the methodology part. After that, in the sixth point, it will cover the advantages of mathematical modeling. Actually, the quantitative techniques are based on mathematics and you can say statics. So the mathematical modeling is actually behind the overall operation, in order to take the correct decision and based on the information. So basically here we are going to cover the advantages of the modeling, that is statistical modeling. And then in the seventh point, we will try to cover the overall scope of quantitative techniques, how it is helpful, and what are the possible areas where we can explore this technique or use this technique. At the end, we will try to cover a little bit about the statistics, what exactly statistics is, and what are the area where we can use the statics. All these things we will cover in the introductory part, that is the eighth point. Okay, so let's start the topic without wasting any time. Let's switch to the first point, that is aims and objective. The main aim of learning about quantitative technique is to provide uh, individuals with the necessary tools to make data driven decision. One very important thing today that I would like to share, that in order to run the business or enterprise or organization, or you can say any big MNC, actually the correct decision making is very important. And to take the correct decision, proper information is required. Now, how you can extract that information? To extract that information, you will have to analyze the data. And to analyze the data, quantitative techniques can play a very vital role. Based on the technique, we can form the mathematical models, and that can help to take the decision with more accuracy, and ultimately that will lead to the correct decision making, and which can help further for the growth and development of the organization. Now, as far as objective is concerned, here are some of the objective of this subject, or you can say quantitative techniques. The first one is equip managers and decision makers with mathematical and statistical tools. Okay. Second one is enhance decision making capabilities in complex and data driven environment. Third one is apply techniques for optimization, forecasting, resource allocation. And the last but not the least is enable better analysis of risk and uncertainties in business processes. So ultimately, all these objectives are based on one simple thing, that is decision making process, right? And forecasting or prediction the result. For all these things, quantitative techniques are very vital and can help in better decision making. Second one is, now let's cover a little bit about the, let's cover now let's cover a little bit about the introduction part. Quantitative techniques involve the application of mathematical and statistical model to analyze business problems and make decision based on numerical data. As I said, that in order to take the better decision, I think analyzing the data is required. And to analyze the data, mathematical concrete models are required that can help to analyze them in a better way in order to find the relationship that exists between the data points and the correlation that exists between the data points. Based on the pattern, we actually find the relationship. Ultimately, it says that to find the patterns, models are required. After getting the patterns, we can relate them with each other. Ultimately, that will help to find the relationship, and based on the relationship, we can extract the information that ultimately leads to good and well decision making process. These techniques are used across various sectors, including business, economics, healthcare, engineering, and social science, to solve problems, improve operations, and optimize processes. That is true, right? Nowadays, it is applicable for almost all sectors, including business, healthcare, engineering, social science, and so on. They aid to, they aid in decision making by providing objective and evidence based solution. So to get the concrete evidence that this is the relationship that exists between the processes, between the data points, it can actually help in better decision making. Next is key quantitative techniques includes linear programming, regression analysis, time series analysis, queuing theory, simulation, and network analysis. So these are the basic techniques actually based on quantitative approach. And based on quantitative approach, these models can help to analyze the data. And as a model, these models are really helpful to analyze the data and to find the pattern that exists between the data points. Ultimately helps in what? In extraction of the information that is hidden behind the data points, and ultimately leads to good and well decision making process based on the numeric data. Now, these tools enable managers to make informed, decisions that maximize profits, minimize cost, and optimize processes in various business functions. Ultimately, any organization will focus in these areas, right? Like maximize profits, because profit ultimately want every organization for their growth and for the well-being. And of course, if the profit is higher, that also in a minimized cost, it can help the organization for better growth. Okay, and of course, optimize processes. Out of many processes, which process should I select? Which is the most appropriate one? So to find that, these tools can help in that area. Historical development. As far as history of quantitative technique, if you will ask me, I would say in the early mathematical, the early mathematical models, regarding the early mathematical models, the use of mathematical models for solving business problems dates back to the 19th century. Early applications were in areas like economics, engineering, and military operations. Now, in 1940s, operations based research, or OR, the field of operations research, which is deeply tied to quantitative associated or tied to quantitative techniques. Quantitative technique emerged during World War II. It focused on optimizing military strategies and resource management. In 50s, I mean to say 1950s, growth of quantitative techniques. After World War II, quantitative methods found applications in industries, particularly in logistics, productions, and management. Then some of the advances included to it, and in 1970s are beyond. The advent of computers significantly enhance the use of quantitative techniques, allow for faster and more complex data analysis. With the rise of data analytics and machine learning, these techniques help evolve and expand it into fields like artificial intelligence and predictive analysis. Now, very, rigorously we are saying quantitative technique. Now, what are the models that are there actually? So, quantitative techniques are the mathematical and computational methods used to analyze problems and make decisions based on measurable data. And these techniques involves the use of mathematical models, like for that can now what mathematical models that we can use for what optimization, if the base models can be based on algebra as well. Now, statistical model, one is mathematical, second one is statistical. Examples can be hypothetical or hypothesis testing. Regressions is all about it depends upon the independent and dependent variables. Computational tools, as I said, after 1970s, computer come into the picture, and with quantitative techniques, it enhance the approach and helps to better in a better way to analyze the data, helps in better decision making. So, what are the computational tools? You can say algorithm, simulations. Some of them can consider as the quantitative techniques that can be used for analyzing the data. The core idea is to what? Reduce subjective decision making by providing objective and data-based solution. These techniques helps in optimizing resource and operations, forecasting future trends and outcome, making risk by quantifying uncertainty. So for repeatedly, I'm saying the same. For optimizing the resource, of course, for the welfare and growth of organization with limited number of resources, it is very important to use them in a better way, in an efficient way. So for optimization of the resources and operations, quantitative techniques can really help. Now, second thing is for forecasting future trends and outcome. So based on time series also, you can say based on the past data, by analyzing the past data, how can you predict the future? So in this area, I think quantitative techniques can play a vital role. There are certain models based on which we can predict the future, based on which we can forecast the data. And after that, These techniques are also helpful in managing risk and, you know, um, whether it's related to marketing or any form of business. Better modeling can help. That also based on statics and mathematics. It can really help for better decision making by applying the techniques to analyze the data which are not in the correct format in order to extract the correct information. Now, what is the methodology, or you can say logic or steps which are behind the quantitative techniques? So, it consists of several steps. The first one is formulating the problem. So, this step involves clearly defining the problem, because if we don't know what is the problem statement, we cannot find the accurate result for that. So, always defining the problem is very important, or you can say formulating the problem is really important. The manager must understand the issue at hand and objective to be achieved, and any limitations or constraints that must be considered. So, from the management point of view, I think the issues must be cleared. The objective based on the issue must be achieved, and what are the possible limitations that also must be considered in that area. Defining the next is what? Defining decision variables and constraints. Constraints are nothing but the conditions, in what I can say, certain conditions based on which we will have to make the decision. So, defining the decision variable and constraints are equally important, and that is the reason why it poses the second step, second rank as the process, as the step in the quantitative techniques methodology part. So, next, decision variables are, as I said, identified. These variables represent the aspect of the problem that will be controlled and influenced. Constraints are the limitations that restrict the decision variables, such as budget, time, or resource availability. The third step is developing a suitable model. Okay, so a mathematical or statistical model is developed based on the problem. If we don't know what is the problem, it is very difficult to develop the correct statistical model. Side by side, decision variables are those variables based on which we can say that what can be the possible solution to the problem. And constraints, what are the certain conditions that we have imposed to find out the correct decision, that comes under the constraint part, right? So this model represents the real world scenario in a simplified, structured way, and enabling analysis and optimization. Okay. Fourth step is acquiring the input data. Data collection is an essential part of the methodology, because without gathering or collecting the data, we cannot analyze the data. Okay, so gathering and collecting data is important, I can say, in every field related to research or analysis. The model requires the data, because what, after developing the model, we have to fit the data. So if the data is not gathered in a proper way, in a proper format, we cannot feed them to the models for prediction, the output. So the model requires the data inputs which could be gathered from historical records, survey, experiments, or external resources, right? The quality and accuracy of the data are critical to the success of the model. Of course, if the data are not in the right order, in a right format, it is very difficult to analyze them and to extract the correct information for the better what I can say, decision making. So quality and accuracy of the data are the critical to the success of the model. Any model can predict the correct output only when the format of the data will be in a correct order, in a correct format. Fifth point is solving the model. Once the model and data are ready, computational techniques are used to solve the model. Okay. This involves applying algorithm and statistical methods to find the optimal solution based on the defined objective and constraint. So statistical and algorithms are the methods that can be used to solve the model in a better way, and to find the optimal solutions from the model based on the with the help of the model, of course. Sixth one is validating the model. Whether my model is predicting or generating the output in a right order or a right format or not, whether it is accurate or not. So validatory or validating the model is equally important compared to the other steps. The solution needs to be validated by checking whether the model provides results that are consistent with real world observations, or whether the assumptions holds true. Validation ensures that the model is an accurate representation of the problem and provides reliable result. So to get the reliable result, validation of the model is equally important. Seventh one is, I think this is the last step, and that can relate to the result part. Whatever result that we are getting, finally the result of the model are implemented in practice. Okay. The model may provide specific decisions or insights that can be acted upon the upon to improve what processes, optimize resource use, or make strategic decisions. So whatever the result that will be generated or produced by the mathematical model or statistical model, based on the result, it can really help to improve the overall processes, and also to optimize the limited, if the resource is limited, so optimization is required. So to optimize the resource use or utilization, and to make the strategic decisions, results are vital and must be correct or accurate. So this is all about the methodological part that has been covered. And now it's time to go to the advantages of the mathematical modeling, right? So mathematical modeling has several advantages in business decision making, and which are mentioned one by one in the slide, as you can see. First one is objective decision making. Models reduce reliance on institution and subjective judgment by providing data driven insights. Okay. Optimization. Mathematical models help in finding the optimal solution to problems such as maximizing profits or maximizing costs. Problem simplification. Complex problems are often simplified into manageable mathematical forms that are easier to analyze. So to simplify the problems, mathematical modelings can help. Fourth one is forecasting and prediction. To predict the future value or to forecasting the output based on the model, I think mathematical modeling is required. Mathematical modeling in help in that area as well, to forecast the correct output based on the past data. So models are useful for forecasting future trends based on historical data, helping businesses prepare for potential scenarios. Risk management. By quantifying uncertainty, mathematical models help businesses access risk and take informed actions. So correct decision making is always helpful to assess the risk, to minimize the risk, to minimize the chances of risk. So to take the better decision, I think mathematical modeling is required to analyze the data in a better way, to identify, to extract the correct information. Mathematical modeling is equally required, and that also what it can leads to risk assessment to minimize the risk, whether the risk is going to high or low, or it is going to be in the moderate value or median value. That thing we can identify, we can know by using the mathematical modeling concept. Last one is efficiency improvement, optimizing processes, resource allocation, and inventory management through mathematical models increase operational efficiency, right? So always mathematical modeling concept or techniques are helpful in optimizing the process, and not only the process but also the resources that can help the uh, organization or enterprises for their growth and development in a right way, in a right stage. Now, what can be the possible scope of quantitative technique? So basically, what are the areas where these techniques can play a vital role? So the first one, can you can say that the business and finance, risk management and financial analysis, capital budgeting, investment decision and assess management. Okay, so these are some of the points that can be covered under the business and finance category or area. Second one is operations management. Quantitative techniques can also play a very vital role in the inventory control, production scheduling, and resource optimization, supply chain management, and logistic planning. All these things are very crucial for operational management, and where the quantitative techniques can play a very vital role. Marketing and sales, of course, based on statistics, now we can say what can be the sales, upcoming sales, future sales, what can be the sales value, whether is sales to going to be high or low in the upcoming season or upcoming cycle. Based on the data, past data, or the current data, we can predict the future data. So sales forecasting and customer segmentation, which customer belongs to the category 1, category 2, category 3. That means the premium category, or I can say that having the highest income, mid income, lower income. So all these things, all segmentation thing we can do by using the quantitative techniques, particularly in the marketing and sales area. Market research and advertising optimization, all these things, market research, or I can say that whether the market values or sales values are going to be boom in the upcoming future. All these things, what can be the advertising technique, or which one is going to be the best advertising techniques to release the product. All these things we can do based on the quantitative techniques. Human resources, workforce planning and compensation models. Okay, so what can be how we can minimize the workload, and human resource management, basically I can say in that area also quantitative techniques can play a very vital role. Employee productivity analysis and talent management. So all these things we can do by based on the quantitative techniques, by analyzing the data of the what I can say employees or individuals. In health sector also, quantitative techniques are very useful for resource allocation, patient flow optimization and disease modeling, which disease belongs to which category, whether the person is suffering from, based on the lungs images, for example. How can you predict that whether the person is suffering from a lungs disease or pneumonia or some other disease, cancer like disease? So based on the data, I think based on the quantitative values, based by analyzing the data, by using the quantitative techniques, all these things we can do in the health sector as well. Government and public policy. Policy analysis, economic forecasting, resource allocation, all these are the part of government and public policy. And in each area, the quantitative techniques are involved, where these techniques are helpful for policy making, for correct policy making, whether it's a government side or a state government side, for the growth and welfare of the individuals or citizens, economic forecasting, what going to be the GDP of the upcoming year. In this area, from the government side, quantitative techniques are used to predict that as well. Resource allocation, so which state need more, inventory, or which state need more, not inventory I would say, but in terms of business, in terms of financial support, which state needs more financial support, where the resources are required more. All these things can be analyzed by using the quantitative techniques. So these are some of the scopes or areas where we can use the quantitative techniques to analyze the data. After this, now it's time to cover statistics. Okay. After this, now it's time to cover statistics and introduction. Okay. So what exactly statistics is? Statistics uh, is a branch of mathematics, in a simple word, that deals with the collection, analysis, interpretation, and presentation of the data. So it is the part of the mathematics that can helps to data collection, data analysis, and interpretation of the data. Okay, it provides the tools for analyzing the data, testing hypothesis. Now what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is actually, in other words I can say, uh, prediction based on assumption, making predictions and drawing conclusion. So these are the specific points where statistics can help to analyze the data, to collect the data, to interpret the data. Right now, where actually statistics comes into the picture, what is the origin of it? So ancient beginnings, if you can say, or the practice of collecting data for census and taxation can be tracked back to ancient civilizations like Egypt and Babylon. Development in the 17th century, it actually come into the picture based on probability. Probability theory emerges as the key aspect of statistics in the 1600s, with key contributors like Pascal and Fermat. These are the contributors, particularly in the field of statistics, based on which these particular topic come to the picture. Now, if you will ask me about the modern statistics, in the 19th and 20th centuries, statistical methods became more sophisticated actually, with contributions from figures like Carl Pearson and A. Fisher. Okay. Now, what is the meaning and actual definition of statistics? Statistics refers to the science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting the data. It involves using mathematical. Now, if you will ask me about the actual meaning and definition of statistics, actually, statistics, 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 status, statistics. Okay. Now, if you will ask me about the actual meaning and definition of statistics, then statistics refers to the science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting the data. It involves using mathematical tools to summarize data and infer conclusion based on patterns or relationships. Okay. Now, statistics as data. In quantitative techniques, statistics provides the method to handle large data set. Repeatedly and previously also, I've said one thing, that Quantitative techniques is all about analyzing the data, find the patterns, and from the patterns, extract the information, and based on the information, take the correct decision. So, to handle the large data set, statistics provides the method, okay, and to analyze the relationship between the variables and extract useful insights from the data, as I said, statistics can really help in that. Statistics as science. Statistics is a scientific discipline that applies mathematical methods to analyze data and make decisions. It involves rigorous techniques to ensure the reliability and accuracy of findings. What can be the next? Statistics can be. So statistics as a science different from natural sciences. While natural, now these are some of the other areas or uses I can say based on statistics. Statistics as a science different form from natural sciences. While natural science study physical phenomena using experimental method, statistics focuses on data collection, analyzing, and interpretation in various fields, including economics, business, health, and social science. Statistics as a scientific method. Statistics uses systematic methods like hypothesis testing, then your regression analysis, probability theory to infer conclusion based on data. It allows researchers and analysts to test theories, validate models, and make informed predictions. Okay, so in many areas I can say based on scientific methods, statistics are useful. Statistics as a science or an art. Statistics is often considered both science and an art. It is a science because it uses rigorous mathematical and scientific methods to analyze data. It is an art because interpreting the result and making informed decision based on the analysis requires judgment, experience, and creativity. So this much for today. Thank you, everyone. I hope you will you have liked this online session. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed and liked this online session. And in the upcoming series, we will try to cover more topics based on module 1. Thank you.